This is VOA News. Via remote, I'm Diane Roberts. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has pledged to continue NATO support for Ukraine at a meeting with Ukraine's foreign minister. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
What is very clear to me from having spent the last 2 days with all of our colleagues is that that support remains strong, resolute, determined.
Supplying Ukraine with arms and equipment to rebuild its battered electricity grid to survive winter under Russian bombardment has been a top issue at the meeting.
This support to Ukraine will continue as long as necessary.
Ukraine's Dmytro Kuleba adds NATO diplomats have given him a number of new commitments on arming his nation, but declined to say whether that included promises of badly wanted Patriot surface-to-air missile batteries. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
French President Emmanuel Macron arrived in the U.S. Tuesday as the guest for the first state visit of U.S. President Joe Biden's administration. AP correspondent Karen Chamas has more.
The relationship between the two presidents had a choppy start. Last year, French President Emmanuel Macron briefly recalled his ambassador to the United States due to a spat over a submarines deal. However, the relationship has since turned around, with Macron emerging as one of Biden's most forward-facing European allies in regards to the war on Ukraine. The leaders have a lot to discuss during Macron's visit, including Iran's nuclear program and China's assertiveness in the Indo-Pacific. I'm Karen Chamas.
Former Chinese leader Jiang Zemin died Wednesday, state media reported. He was 96. The major bodies of China's ruling Communist Party announced his death through a letter that expressed, quote, profound grief, end quote. This is VOA News. House Democrats are set to move seamlessly from one history-making leader to another today in a show of unity after midterm election losses. AP Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports.
Democrats are expected to make Hakeem Jeffries the first black American to lead a major political party in Congress. He would replace Nancy Pelosi as top House Democrat as the party ushers in a new generation of leadership. Pelosi and her top lieutenants are all in their mid-80s. The 52-year-old Jeffries, 59-year-old Catherine Clark, and Pete Aguilar, who is 43, would become the new top trio as Democrats show rare unity for a party that lost the midterms. Republicans, meantime, are struggling to unite around leader Kevin McCarthy before taking House control in January. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
West Africa's mediator for Mali has given a positive message about the country's return to civilian rule after a military coup in 2020 initiated a deep political crisis. Former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan, appointed by the West African bloc ECOWAS, made the remarks in Bamako late Tuesday ahead of a summit this weekend. ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States, leads international pressure for Mali's military to return to their barracks. A Pakistani Taliban suicide bomber rammed a police escort for a polio vaccination team in southwestern Pakistan Wednesday, killing 3 people and wounding more than 30, according to police. The Tehrik-i-Taliban Pakistan claimed a responsibility for the attack in a statement received by Reuters. We now have an update on that tragic story of the bodies of 2 children found in suitcases in New Zealand. The AP's Lisa Dwyer reports.
Democrats are expected.
I'm Lisa Dwyer. A woman who was extradited from South Korea this week after the bodies of her 2 children were found in abandoned suitcases has made her first court appearance in New Zealand. The 42-year-old woman has been charged with 2 counts of murder. She faces a mandatory sentence of life imprisonment. The case horrified many people in New Zealand after the children's bodies were discovered in August when an Auckland family bought abandoned goods, including 2 suitcases, from a storage unit in an online auction. Authorities say the children were between 5 and 10 years old and had been dead for years. A judge imposed a temporary order that keeps many details of the case secret, including the names of the woman and the victims. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
For more on these stories and any of those we're covering today, please visit us at voanews.com. Via remote, I'm Diane Roberts, VOA News. Dmytro Kuleba ordered an increase in security at the country's embassies around the world after a letter bomb exploded at the Ukrainian embassy in Madrid on Wednesday. He said, quote, "We will defend each Ukrainian not only in Ukraine but also abroad with all available means. When it is established who has carried out this act of terror, we will do everything so this person or these people receive the maximum punishment." Ukraine on Thursday urged the European Union to include in its new sanctions package measures that would target Russia's missile industry after Moscow's systematic strikes on the country's energy grid. Following military defeats on the ground, Russia began targeting Ukrainian energy facilities, causing severe damage and power outages ahead of winter. On Thursday, Ukraine's electricity operator said that nearly half of the country's electricity
We will defend each Ukrainian, not only in Ukraine, but also abroad, with all available means. When it is established who carried out this act of terror.
My apologies. French President Emmanuel Macron has arrived at the White House to much fanfare during a ceremony at the South Lawn Thursday morning. In remarks, he said through an interpreter that the U.S. and France face more work together, especially because of Russia's war in Ukraine.
Lady Susan
Macron and President Biden are expected to discuss a wide range of topics. This is VOA News. Prince William's godmother has been embroiled in a racism row at a time when the Prince of Wales and his wife were on an official visit to the United States. AP correspondent Karen Chamis has our report.
Lady Susan Hussey resigned as a member of the royal household after she made offensive comments to a black advocate for survivors of domestic abuse at an event at Buckingham Palace. Witness Mandu Reid recalls the incident.
And there was question after question about where she was really from, where her people came from, what her nationality was. And Ngozi said, "I'm British, I was born in the UK," but that wasn't enough for this person.
Prince William's office quickly responded by saying racism has no place in our society, as he sought to prevent the backlash during his visit to Boston. The latest incident took place at a reception hosted by Camilla, the Queen Consort. The episode is a reminder of last year's comments by Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, in an interview with Oprah Winfrey. Meghan alleged that a member of the royal family inquired about the colour of her baby's skin when she was pregnant with her first child. Karen Chamas, London.
Spanish Foreign Minister Jose Manuel Alvarez said Thursday he had tested positive for COVID-19. He took part in a NATO meeting in Romania earlier this week. Alvarez tweeted his symptoms are mild and that he'll continue working. He was in Bucharest on Tuesday and Wednesday for a gathering of NATO foreign ministers. The world's largest volcano is spewing rivers of glowing lava on the Big Island of Hawaii, drawing thousands of awestruck sightseers who could soon be covered by the flow.
As far as eruptions go, it's an ideal eruption at this point because it's fascinating, it's beautiful, and no property, no people, no risk of life yet. And so we were just talking about whether or not it might come down over Saddle Road.
Mauna Loa awoke from its 38-year slumber Sunday, causing volcanic ash and debris to drift down from the sky. A main highway linking towns on the east and west coast of the Big Island became an impromptu viewing point with thousands of cars jamming the highway near Volcanoes National Park. And recapping our top story, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba ordered an increase in security at the country's embassies around the world after a letter bomb exploded at the Ukrainian embassy in Madrid Wednesday. From Washington via remote, I'm Diane Roberts, VOA News.
And more. VOA 1.
This is VOA News. I'm Joe Ramsey. The Kremlin said on Friday Russian President Vladimir Putin is open to talks on a possible settlement in Ukraine, but the refusal of the United States to recognize annexed territories as Russian is hindering a search for any potential compromise.
Конечно, это существенно осложняет
Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said, quote, "The most preferable way to achieve our interests is through peaceful diplomatic means," adding, quote, "Putin is and remains open to contacts and negotiations." Russia has claimed around a fifth of Ukraine's post-Soviet territory, annexations that the West and Ukraine say they will never accept. A top advisor to Ukraine's president has cited military chiefs as saying 10,000 to 13,000 Ukrainian soldiers have been killed in the country's 9-month struggle against Russia's invasion. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
Mikhailo Podolyak has given you figures about Ukrainian soldiers killed in battle, while noting the number of injured troops was higher and civilian casualty counts significant. The rare comment is far below estimates of Ukrainian casualties from Western leaders. Last month, General Mark Milley, the chairman of the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff, said as many as 40,000 Ukrainian soldiers and well over 100,000 Russian soldiers have been killed or wounded. He added that it was the same thing probably on the Ukrainian side. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Ukraine has banned the activities of religious organizations, quote, affiliated with centers of influence in Russia, and says it will examine the links between the Ukrainian and Russian Orthodox churches. Ukrainian officials suspect the church is promoting pro-Russia views and that some priests may be actively collaborating with Moscow. This is VOA News. Officials in South Africa's governing African National Congress met on Friday to decide whether President Cyril Ramaphosa should stay on after an inquiry found evidence of misconduct, but they failed to reach a conclusion. Ramaphosa's future has been in doubt since publication on Wednesday of a report by a panel of experts that investigated revelations that he kept millions of dollars in cash at his private game farm and failed to even report it missing when the money was stolen from the property in 2020. He has denied any wrongdoing and has not been charged with a crime. A British lawyer representing Nigeria in a London court case in which $11 billion are at stake said on Friday the trial would reveal corruption, quote, on an industrial scale, not only of Nigerian officials but also of British lawyers. The case stems from a contract for a gas project awarded by Nigeria in 2010 to a company, and the gas processing facility never materialized for reasons that are disputed. An 8-week trial is due to start in January at the High Court in London, with the witnesses appearing in person as well as remotely from Ireland and from Nigeria. The U.S. jobs market stayed strong last month despite high inflation and an economy that's growing slowly. AP Washington correspondent Sagar Magani reports.
Employers added 263,000 jobs last month, down slightly from October, but all told it represents a substantial jump given the Federal Reserve's aggressive interest rate hikes as it tries to stem decades-high inflation. As employers keep hiring, paychecks keep going up, and the combination of more jobs and higher wages could complicate the Fed's inflation fight. Sagar Magani, Washington.
The rapper Ye has been kicked off Twitter again. AP correspondent Jennifer King reports.
In a rambling interview with conspiracy theorist Alex Jones on Thursday, the rapper Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, talked about his recent meeting with Donald Trump, made anti-Semitic jokes, and said he saw good things about Hitler. His Twitter account was suspended after posting a picture of a swastika merged with the Star of David. The platform's new owner, Elon Musk, tweeted that the rapper had again violated our rule against incitement to violence. Ye posted an unflattering picture of Musk in what he called his final tweet. Meanwhile, Parler announced that the rapper is no longer buying the conservative social media site. Back in October, they'd said the acquisition would be completed near the end of this year. I'm Jennifer King.
European officials said Friday China's President Xi Jinping suggested in talks that the spread of the less lethal Omicron strain of the COVID-19 may allow Beijing to ease lockdown rules. I'm Joe Ramsey, VOA News.